The other day I was around a group of people and they asked me, why am I so happy? At the moment I was a little bit out of my head, and so my immediate response was, you need to bend that ass over, let that coochie breathe, shake that ass, hands on your knees. I say this to say that we need to be a little bit more out of our head and childlike, free spirited. Um, Most of us, we take everything just a little bit too serious. And, I get it. Being an adult comes with certain responsibilities, which are just inescapable facts of maturity, and the world requires much of us. But I firmly believe that in order to be happy, you have to choose happiness. You have to make a conscious decision to be happy. So really, I create this video to with the purpose of helping people recapture that spirit of happiness and trust. One thing that I've done that has helped me tremendously is I stopped from feeling frustrated. I don't allow people to have control over my emotions, and I think that's very important because too many of us, we get so caught up, in this world and the events that are happening, making it affect us, our mental health. Something that I've done and I will share with you is, if you can fix a situation, then fix it. Do the best that you can, by all means. But if you can't, just let it go. Let it go, leave it to God, let Him handle it. Do the best that you can do about every situation and just leave the rest to God, for Him to take care of it. I try my best not to worry too much, not to see that the world that I live in is all lullaby and beautiful. I've had my fair share of struggles and worry. I remember back in 2017, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And, if you know me, you know that I'm very close with my mom. Um, so her diagnosis affected me tremendously. You know, her diagnosis really affected me. And I remember she had to undergo surgery. Uh, the first surgery she did, the doctor didn't remove all the cancer cells, so she had to undergo surgery a second time. And I remember going to the hospital to visit her, and she was lying in the bed, her eyes swollen with tears, her hand butchered from the flap that the doctor removed from her hand to place in her mouth. It was so overwhelming. I remember just running out of the hospital, honestly, crying because I didn't want my mom to see me in that state. I, she was already going through a lot, and seeing her cry, it was actually my first time seeing her cry. Uh, it was just too much emotions to process. And eventually, with the second surgery, everything, went well. They removed the cancerous cells from her mouth and had her undergo radiation and chemotherapy. So, I was like, this is it. Everything will be fine. The cancer is now gone. She just needs time to heal. But with time, I realized that the side on her, the side of her face that the doctor operated on, was darker than the remaining of her face. Then her tooth started falling out, from that side of her mouth, and turns out that the radiation had destroyed um, the cells in her mouth, and her doctor recommendation was that she had to undergo a jaw reconstruction surgery. I was terrified, and I don't know if I could put in words the emotions my mom was feeling at the time. I It was tough. That's all I'll say. It was a very difficult time in my life, and it wasn't until last year fall, she developed the courage to undergo that surgery. Um, they remove a bone from her foot and replace it with the one in her mouth. And I remember on her surgery day, you know, they had to put her to sleep, and I was worried, anxious, and so terrified. And usually when I need comfort, I would call my mom, and at that moment I couldn't call her. I had no one to call but God. And it was throughout that time I started reading the Bible immensely, praying, talking to God. And I learned a few principles that I'm going to share with you today that has helped me in changing from that worried, frustrated, anxious person to being being content and happy regardless of like whatever situation that comes at me. And yeah, I'll share that with you today. And I just hope that you will find benefit from these principles and apply them, and so that they could work for you as well in your life. The first principle that I'll share with you is to fill your mind with faith until fear is displaced. Normal fear, uh, of course, was built in us by the Almighty. It's an healthy mechanism built in us by the Almighty for our protection. Abnormal fear, on the contrary, is both destructive and disintegrating. It is one of the most potent enemies of personality. Worry may be described as a spasm of emotion in which the mind takes hold of a thought or obsession, clutches to it, and won't let it go. To break its hold, one must gently but forcibly insinuate healthier thoughts and ideas into the mind, convulsive grasp. The stronger idea is that of faith in God. When faith rather than fear becomes your obsession, you master worry. How does one fill their mind completely with faith until fear is displaced? What I'll do is I'll saturate my mind with biological material of people who have overcome their fears. This helps me to recondition my mind and free me from worry. In addition to doing this, I would fill my mind with fear eliminating words from the Bible. I would read the Bible and underline every passage that has to do with faith. And then I would repeat these scriptures in my subconsciousness daily. Another technique that I use is make use of symbols and words, which in of itself may seem simple, but have power to direct the mind into new attitudes of faith. One of my favorite scriptures from the Bible is, Romans 8 verses 31, and it states, "If God be for us, who can be against us?" I would substitute us with me and say, "If God be for me, who can be against me?" And I would then picture an image of everything that I think is against me, and then create another image of God fighting my obstacles. Then I would ask myself, who would win? And of course, God always wins. So you could make use of your own faith-based words and repeat them daily. I also have some of my favorite printed on clothing and accessories in my I Inspired store if you need inspiration. Another thing that I started doing is being bold. I started thinking in terms of boldness. I would undertake a constructive thing that frightens me and think boldly about it. Picturized concept in the conscious mind will, if reiterated, impress themselves upon the subconscious mind. Emerson advises, do the thing that you fear, and the death of fear is certain. Boldness will reveal to you that you are stronger than you imagine. So first you need to have a bold thought, And then second thing you need to do is act bold. Position yourself where you can't back down. You can only go up. The harder you tackle a bigger player, the less likely you are to get hurt. And the simple reason, momentum equal weight times velocity. In other words, if you are bold enough, the laws of motion will come to your aid. But most importantly, include God in everything that you do, because wherever God is, fear cannot live. Live on a big scale, look big at life. The way to handle difficulties is simple. Think big, act big, pray big, and believe big. God can make you bigger than your difficulties. Happiness is urged upon us only for the purpose of teaching us how to be alive, how to be free of conflict, how to enter a state of harmony so necessary to being a well-functioning human being. Joy and harmony are synonymous. When you are in harmony, all elements of your life function cooperatively. You are in alignment with the universe. When you're in harmony, your whole being, mind, soul, and body operates as a unity. Then you are at a high level of efficiency as a person. Joy and harmony are fundamental factors of effectiveness. So, how do you practice joy? The first step is simply learn to think joy. Think persistently along the lines which you desire. Then act like you are just that. Act as though you feel the way you want to feel. The way to be joyful, I said, is to think joy, practice joy, and give joy. I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.
If you enjoyed this content, please let me know by clicking the like button. Thanks, guys.